We'll do it live.
Nothing you have ever done, seen, or imagined can prepare you for the experience of hardcore.
Turn it off!
George C. Scott. Hardcore.
Turn it off!
Have you ever done that?
Like, have sex with two people at the same time?
Mm-hmm. No. Darling, you don't.
I love you, darling. You said you love me?
You know that I really only love you.
I love you!
I love you can mean a lot of things.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Cinematic Lounge. Oh, we have a special one today. I got my old friend Spider Al coming in. Now, for those of you who don't know, Spider Al used to be on the original Yippee-Ki-Yay Mother podcast under a different pseudonym. But he's got a couple of great movies we're going to talk about today that he wanted to talk about. And he made me watch one of them anyway. But before we do that, of course, Maria has a drink inspired by these. Mostly the second film, because I never want to think about that film again. What is the name of your beautiful drink?
It is a mind eraser.
Thank you.
Yes. And I chose it because of the Doom generation.
Yeah, I mean, that's a movie I want to forget.
Yeah.
But
Figure
we'll
Doom, you want to erase your mind.
Right.
Then I did come downstairs and see a couple of the scenes and confirmed my choice.
Brutal, right?
Yes.
Looked pretty good. What's in it?
It has Kahlua, and then it has tonic water and vodka.
Okay, well, Spider Al is in the green room. So I don't think he will be drinking that.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, I got a couple beers for him for the lounge. So you may just want to go upstairs and quietly.
I will take this with me.
Point it to the show it to
quietly,
the camera. Yeah, there it is.
Forget
Beautiful.
what I saw.
And all right.
Okay. Does he need a glass?
No, he will drink out of the can. Okay. All right, Spider Al, come on in. Spider Al, nothing like a Spider Al. Oh, you're going to sweat like a pig in here. All right. Oh, my goodness. Hello, Spider Al.
Good to see you again.
Oh, you had to put sunglasses on as well? It's not
Yes.
enough with all the other stuff? Here,
No, absolutely not.
Let me raise this up to get your beautiful visage in there. Oh, how you doing, Spider Al?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. I feel like I needed to dress like a 1970s
superhero or what?
Superhero / pervert.
You are. Well,
we are about to
oh,
talk
you
about.
whipped hardcore out. Okay, so we're going to talk about the 1979 hardcore starring George C. Scott and Al. Spider Al wanted me to watch the Doom Generation, which
Yes,
I happily did until I don't know, about 20 minutes in. I don't remember how far in I got in that one. So anyway, we were gonna do these separately, but
Yeah.
I kind of felt like these two movies share a bit of kinship, which is nihilism. I may be wrong. You're.
I mean, it's
you're more the nihilist.
They're
than I am.
certainly dark films. With,
Yeah, they're both dark.
with
Well,
very little hope in them. I
That's
would
right. Which one would you like to talk about first?
say. I'd say let's go with Hardcore with George
Okay.
C. Scott.
Why don't you give me a little recap of Hardcore?
Let's see, Hardcore. George C. Scott plays a businessman in, I guess it's Minnesota. No, Grand Rapids.
Yeah, Grand Rapids.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Is that
he.
Michigan or Idaho? Where's Grand Rapids? We're so smart.
Yeah, I know.
Where are? Okay,
Grand Rapids.
somewhere in the Midwest.
Yes.
Midwestern gentleman.
Yes.
Calvinist, right?
He is Calvinist.
Mm-hmm.
He sends his daughter on a church trip to California, and she gets waylaid at Knott's Berry Farm. She disappears, and the rest of the film is him trying to find her.
Right.
And so,
I forget how he finds out she ends up in the porn business. I don't
well,
remember all the machinations.
he hires Peter Boyle
Oh, right.
to go find her.
Right.
And-
So this is the famous George C. Scott
Yeah, I mean,
On
this
the
is
poster.
a
on my shirt. Oh my God, that's my daughter.
this
You
is
know.
a meme.
Yeah, it is definitely a meme.
So, with the meme, him sitting in the movie theater, people would,
Twisting his face,
Yeah.
twisting. Shut it off.
they would put all kinds of footage against that to make
Well, and actually, the movie 8mm is kind of a homage with Nicolas Cage. You've seen 8mm.
Yes,
right?
actually, I think I prefer 8mm.
I think 8mm is a good film.
Yeah,
but it definitely owes a lot to this one
Yeah.
because it pretty much plays on the same.
I
themes.
didn't. I saw 8mm when it came out, and that movie was crazy to me. I was 17, maybe.
Really?
when I saw that, and then years later,
Were you in high school, like
Yeah.
Peter Parker? Shooting?
yes, like Peter
You working
Parker.
for the newspaper?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
just wondering. All right.
But I didn't know about this film until the meme came out, and then I saw
You didn't
it.
know about Hardcore?
No,
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't.
I think I saw this when it came out, actually. 1979, my senior year in high school. Yeah, it's directed by Paul Schrader, I believe.
Yes.
Right?
Writer of Taxi Driver, correct.
Right, but also Catholicism, Christianity is a lot of themes in his films as well. He also did the one with Ethan Hawke called Reformation. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I have not.
About the priest, and there's all kinds of issues in that. And so it is about a pious man who has to go into the seedy underbelly of Los Angeles to rescue his daughter.
Yes.
And the reason I'm comparing it to the Doom Generation, which came out in '94, is it's a nihilistic film based in Los Angeles as well.
Yes. Well, Southern California, at least.
Okay,
Yeah.
but they shot around like urban blight of
Yeah.
Los Angeles. A lot of the set pieces were in crazy ass locations. So that's why I was kind of thinking these two kind of share that kind of getting into the seedy underworld. Where Doom Generation, you're in the seedy underworld. This one, he discovers the seedy underworld and tries to beat it. And I think he does at the end. He gets his daughter home, right at the very end.
Yeah, I guess.
But, who really knows if she's going to go back to that? It's also his journey because he ends up pretending to be a porn producer. Remember that scene where he wears the weird wig?
That's one of the best scenes of the movie.
It's a classic.
And when he's in his disguise.
Right, and he's interviewing
the
male actors.
The male talent, yeah.
And what he's trying to do is find the two guys that were in the movie he ends up seeing in the movie theater. He goes then to search for those two guys and basically take revenge on them. And what he ends up doing is he ends up in the seedy underworld of porn. Just like, 8mm does the exact same thing. And it's his journey from this pious guy to this guy who's going to go out there and retribution. And all his relatives are like, what are you doing? You're crazy. You got to, just basically not give up, but you lost her. She's gone. And he would never give up. So what do you... I have to tell you, this is very disconcerting because I'm getting no nonverbal communication. Like you're hearing what I'm saying,
Yes,
and I can't tell if you're asleep under that mask or not.
I'm absolutely asleep right now.
Yeah. That's what it sounded like. So, all right. So why don't you give me some thoughts on Hardcore?
For Hardcore,
and I'll just drift off and let's see how this feels for you. I'm just going to look this way while you're talking to me.
I like George C. Scott a lot as an actor.
Yeah.
I think probably my favorite film of his is Dr. Strangelove.
Oh, really?
But I can see, just talking about 8mm, I think, for a second, I think Nicolas Cage is a good analog for them because they both have like really strong emoting abilities and some overacting. And I feel like the scene in the movie theater is a bit overwrought, let's say.
Oh, it definitely was. And it's funny, when you watch the director's track about that scene and what George C. Scott, he was an alcoholic too, so they had to deal with that. Like he would take days off to deal with that. And I think they shot this maybe in 1 or 2 takes where they just let the camera do its thing. And George C. Scott did his thing. Now, Nicolas Cage in 8mm starts off a little more...
He's the private investigator in 8mm.
That's right.
Yeah,
he's got a family, a young daughter, a wife, and a new daughter. And I think he starts a little more positive in 8mm, and then ends up realizing the world is hell. Yeah. And he ends up finding the perpetrator, the porn, the machine. I think they called it.
Well, it has Peter Stormare as the producer, and
right, really creepy stuff around, and even James Gandolfini's in there as one of the guys, and he's got a very powerful scene with Nick Cage. But the monster ends up being this nerdy guy who takes care of his mother, and just sends Nicolas Cage into this spiral of what the hell's going on. Where I think George C. Scott's hero quotes, saves her. In the film 8mm, Nicolas Cage doesn't save the person that he goes looking for, or
she's dead,
right?
Yeah.
He didn't know that at first, but he figured it out. This one, he ends up taking her back home. Now, I don't know if that's going to be better for her or worse for her. When she ends up back in his.
I would have to assume that it would be worse.
Yeah.
Well, I think the whole story in general, you're led to believe that she's kidnapped or somehow taken away against her will. But really, when you watch the film, she actually comes from a broken home. His
Right.
wife has left him.
Right.
He's like a man of the times, or a man.
He's a furniture maker. Or
yeah,
something.
but like
Furniture
he's
manufacturer.
he's the archetypical greatest generation where you don't show emotion, you don't tell people you love them, you're just stoic,
Right.
and you don't give anything in the relationship. So, you as you go on this journey, you realize that he even though he is a good person, like he does have his flaws.
Oh, he's definitely got his flaws.
Yeah.
But like you said, he doesn't admit those flaws and he just powers through. And I think that's the disconnect in the film, because by the end, she's like, I love you, Daddy. And, it's the one time that he's shown any emotion is when he goes in there and rescues her. Now, what will happen when he goes back home, we'll never know, because, we don't have a sequel to Hardcore. There's no Hardcore 2. I don't think so.
That's a different movie.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's an interesting film because it's so in its time. Paul Schrader's an interesting guy. I mean, the themes, the religious themes in all his films are pretty strong. Kind of judgy a little bit, I think, these characters. He's kind of judging them a little bit from afar or appreciating them. I'm not quite sure what the line between judging and appreciating, what those families are like, because he shows everybody sitting around the table, very waspy, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's sitting around the table. Like you said, there's no feelings. It's just all surface. The food looks great. Everybody's eating. But there's this underbelly of just,
Well, I kind of feel like and I think this goes across both these two films, but there's like this anti-TV sentiment, because there's a scene where they're at Thanksgiving, and the grandfather or the uncle is just like, we're not going to watch this anymore. We're going to turn the TV off. And so it's like there's kind of this like old world attitude where like new things are bad,
right?
And I think there was some commentary in Doom Generation about.
Wow, they played a little bit like RoboCop, where you're watching those crazy news.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe the people in Doom Generation that you know who the two broadcasters were?
Yeah, the one was Peter Brady, I think.
Peter Brady.
I didn't know who.
And Lauren Twos, who was Julie on the Love Boat. I mean, it's like, what the hell? And she's in the other. I looked up the sequel, not that I want to watch it, but his next film. Which has that young actor.
James Duval. Yeah.
We're not going to jump to that yet, but we'll talk about that one on its own. So back to Hardcore. Yeah, I mean, I didn't get an anti-television sentiment. I didn't get like what's corrupting society. Is that what you're thinking, or until he goes into L.A. and realizes, holy shit?
I think it's very like I think it's a culture, like a vast cultural divide. Like Grand Rapids is the old world. LA is the new world,
right? Where
people can be sexual and do things that polite society wouldn't agree with.
Right. I mean, we forgot to talk about Susan Hubley too, who plays the young sex worker who takes George C. Scott through all the kind of like it was Joaquin Phoenix in 8mm. He has this woman who is showing him all the ropes through and basically develops a relationship with her, not sexual, but sort of a father-daughter relationship with her. I don't think she saves her, though. I think she ends up staying there. I forget what.
I assume that she goes back to her.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Like Peter Boyle pulls her back, and
right? Blackmails her and does some stuff, but she was an interesting character. I liked her character. I mean, sort of that sweet, innocent, hooker with a heart of gold, basically. A little cliche, obviously. Joaquin Phoenix was more of a guy who worked in all the places, so it was a little different. But
and you kind of get that during this film. You get George C. Scott going into porn stores, seeing the clientele. He's going into bathhouses, and
he does it all.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, he dresses up like a producer and says he's producing a movie, and he ends up finding the guys, or at least one of them.
Yeah, and beating the shit out of him.
And he goes into that other brothel place at the end of it and just destroys that place.
Yeah.
Including the guy with the members only jacket, or I forget. No, he had a Dodgers jacket on. That's what it was. I have that same freaking blue Dodgers. It doesn't say Dodgers on it, but it's the same design. And I think I bought it before I saw this movie, and I'm like, holy crap. And that actor with the long hair, I forget his name. I've seen him in dozens of stuff back in those days.
Well, I would say like the one thing I found fascinating is that you see a progression of depravity in this movie.
Yeah,
it goes from Well, he sees the picture, the stag film of his daughter having sex with the two men.
Right.
But then once he gets to L.A., you see him, as he tracks them down, he goes to porn stores, like I was saying. He goes to bathhouses. But then he has to find the correct people, and then he ends up watching a snuff film, which you're not really sure if it's true or not.
It's the same thing as 8mm. It's the whole point of that movie. Are snuff films real or not?
And then you get, does he go to a bondage store, or is that just in the snuff film?
I don't remember. I don't remember what he did. But after seeing 8mm, like you, I agree with you. 8mm is a better version of that same story. I just think George C. Scott, as overacting as he overacts in. We just reviewed Exorcist 3. You talk about overact. I mean, it seems like overacting. Now, maybe it's method or something. I don't know. I'm not an actor, but he seems to put all into this kind of stuff, and I appreciate him. I think George C. Scott is one of the greatest actors of that generation, and obviously, you awake?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Obviously,
we're having a great conversation here.
Yeah, I can tell. Not really. I'm getting no cues. Okay, you understand? This is how do superheroes talk to each other? They can't even.
Well, Spider-Man, he normally has eye movements.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not CGI.
You didn't get the movie-ready mask or anything? That's a cheap knockoff.
This is the Amazon version of this.
Cheap knockoff. I got it.
I think one of the things, hardcore real fast.
Yeah, let's stay on hardcore for another at least 4 minutes. At least.
I kind of wonder why Paul Schrader picked Los Angeles and why he didn't stay in New York. Because, the porn, I could be wrong about this, and, feel free to comment about how wrong I am about this. But
any of you who are watching.
Yes. I feel like the adult industry started in New York City. And I know that's, where Taxi Driver took place. I don't know if he was just looking for a venue change, this was later in the 70s. I don't know where the cutoff was, where the scene in New York started dying off, and then they moved to the
this
valley.
Came out in 79, okay? Yeah. So I know your dream has always been to go back to Times Square.
Yeah, 42nd Street.
Pre-Disneyfying.
Yes. See the Deuce as it was.
See the Deuce. Now, this was 79, so 78, New York City was still pretty raunchy.
Yeah.
I can remember being in Times Square back in college. So I graduated in 80. I graduated in 83. So I would have been there right around this time, early my sophomore year, I guess. And it was seedy as hell, where you're walking around. But I think Los Angeles, he probably, because I assume he works in LA all the time, Hollywood writer, director. He probably had a lot of connections in that business. Or he knew a lot of people, or at least he researched with a lot of people. Probably ended up knowing him, probably ended up hanging out with a lot of those people. And that's why Los Angeles became and Los Angeles was probably pretty seedy. Yeah. I think 8mm does the same thing. I think 8mm, it's sort of an undisclosed thing, but I think it's Los Angeles.
But, he does travel to different parts of California in this. So he goes to San Diego and San Francisco.
But it's all along that Southern California.
But I guess in terms of timeline, I just, New York was the hub, and I don't know when L.A. became the hub. I guess it would be
pornography.
Yeah,
I mean, did it ever? I don't know. I guess it did.
I mean, in terms of production, if you're gonna,
because isn't there a lot of porn production out there in the hills of Hollywood,
in the San Fernando Valley,
right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that had to be a hotbed for that stuff. So, but what's he saying about the porn industry, Paul Schrader?
What's he saying about it? Oh, I would assume
you're the nihilist here. I'm not. I'm pretty.
I would say he's saying that it's exploitative. That's why. Okay.
Now, is in his mind, is this guy, George C. Scott's character, a hero or what? Or is he a pitiful? Or what's his take on this guy? Paul Schrader's take on that character.
That's a good question.
Well, thank you.
I would say that his take is this character gets shit done, even if people tell him to let things go.
Right.
Like he's very bullheaded, and I think that bullheadedness probably was one of the reasons why his wife and daughter left.
Yeah. Do you think it's like the Christian righteousness? Like he in his mind, it's his way or the highway.
It's hard for me.
God's way or the highway.
I think it's hard for me to say that because he's Calvinist, and I don't.
I wouldn't.
They believe in predetermination, which does not make sense to me. Because why, if you believe that God has already selected the people are going to heaven, what's the purpose of acting morally and ethically if God has already just determined that you're going to heaven, then why would you?
But is that determination based on what you do while you're down here, or is it already predetermined?
No, it's pre. I mean, the way he explains it in the film is God is omniscient, so before he even created the world, he knew who was going to heaven.
Oh. Okay.
So I think that's an interesting take to use a character like that, because
right, but why? Okay, I guess then why?
And I'm not an expert on Calvinism.
Well, no, you're more an expert than I am. Even you might have been just faking that. I don't know, but yeah. So I don't know. So, but again, everybody was telling him to back off.
Wait, do you think that's because it's the attitude towards women at that time was like, she's a woman and a daughter, and she doesn't matter?
Well, do you think that has changed at all?
No.
Okay, we just proved that, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
So no, I don't know. I don't know what the attitude was. I think the attitude was she's lost. She's gone. You know, like in The Hangover, Bangkok. Bangkok's got him now. He's never going to go. It shows his strength to never give up, but at what cost? Because he lost everything, I think. He stayed there for a long time.
Yeah.
And maybe it's that righteousness, that determination that let him just keep going and going and going and powering through, and wouldn't take no for an answer, and he ends up finding her, which is, I don't know what that message is, right?
Well,
in the real world, that wouldn't happen.
I guess I have a problem. I guess I had a.
I don't know.
I didn't like how they crammed it in at the end, like in the last 3 minutes of him saying, "Oh yeah, I've been a bad father."
Right.
Like this.
No, I mean that's the.
I feel like there could have been a little more of that.
Yeah. But that's the only time he was with her.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't his relationship with the other woman was more. It was softening him more.
Yeah.
I think, to forgive his daughter for what happened. I mean, I don't know if he was blaming his daughter. I don't think so. But he has to deal with that, especially if she didn't want to come home. I mean, he was getting hints that she didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
She was enjoying that.
I guess I just wish
she liked that men were paying attention to her, which is another weird anti-female kind of take on this, which is like, of course, okay, they get abused a little bit, but they really, ultimately
they love you.
That's
like,
right.
She felt loved by these people that were abusing, exploiting her.
So I mean, that's pretty creepy and not.
I mean, what is that? I guess you're a boomer or an end stage boomer.
I'm at the very end of the boomer. Thank you.
I mean, did you grow up in a family where like feelings were not discussed, or
Yeah. There wasn't a lot of hugging and I love yous in my family. As we get older and as I had my own children, it changes a little bit. But I can't remember, how many times I've told my mother I love her or my dad before he passed. Yeah, we weren't, and that wasn't religion. That was just us.
Yeah.
I mean, I was raised Catholic, but
I mean, do you think that was indicative of like your community, though?
No,
like
I don't think so.
Or it was just your family?
I think
in
it was
general?
our family,
Okay.
because there were lots of touchy-feely families around,
Okay.
and it would kind of creep me out a little bit, to be honest. So that just shows where we were. I try to be a little more touchy-feely with my kids, and to show them a little bit more than I normally would growing up. But I don't know. I don't know what that. What's that?
Well,
what do you think that means?
I guess I'm trying to think of like, the older generations. They're like you have this very rigid social structure where you get married, you have kids, you work one job for forever, and then there's this disconnect between boomers, late stage boomers or whatever, where they're like, no, we're not going to do that, and we're going to go out and live the world.
No,
live in the world.
I'm still in the attitude. You just get up every day and you go to work.
Yeah.
If you do that, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people my age who have been laid off, who have said, I have no identity now because I don't have my job. And I think that comes from our upbringing. And my father, who would have been, I don't know what that, I guess he'd be baby boomer or before. I don't know what, the great generation or whatever that was. But that was instilled. Just get up every day and go to work, and things will get, things will get figured out. You have to put in a good day's work. And I think that's probably where this guy was at. George C. Scott's character, right? It's just you just have to get up every day. Maybe that's why his wife left him. Because he neglected everything around him because he had this furniture store he had to keep.
Well, there's that scene at the beginning where he's talking to the woman about the ad and what color of the paint it should be.
Right.
And he keeps circling back around to be like, it's not the color that I want, even though she's technically the expert in the color pickage.
Right.
So I think you kind of see that he's dismissive of
women. I mean, I'm sure. You think women or anybody? You think specifically
I think because
women?
of the way the story is laid out, I think it's showing him being dismissive of women.
And I wonder how Paul Schrader, because you look at Taxi Driver, you look at all these films with young sex workers in there, and some of his ideas that are thrown in those films. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to be able to figure out that kind of subtext. I just know he's in a movie theater looking at his daughter getting rammed by a couple of guys.
Yep.
That would cause a lot of consternation, I think. And that my face.
And Peter Boyle didn't want to shut it off at any point. He wanted him to see the whole thing.
Peter Boyle's great in this. Peter Boyle, Young Frankenstein. He had a lot of great films in the 70s where he was it. And this is one of them where he plays this creepy detective. Who was involved in everything. Yeah. I mean, he really was. All right. Let's let me do this.
I would say check out Hardcore if you.
Yeah, you definitely should watch Hardcore. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but what would you rate it? 1 out of 5.
I'll give it 3.
Yeah, I think a 3 is a good rating for this one. So, all right.
I think it's a good look at that time period.
Well,
I always like seeing the cities before I was
clean
born.
up.
Yeah,
yeah. You would have loved 42nd Street. Walking around there, you would we went there when we went to Coney Island that year.
Yeah.
The year we went to the archive, and it's like Disneyland over there. It's had not, and you were just. I remember you looking down the streets, going, "Oh, I just wish I could go back in time to 42nd Street." I'm like, "Oh my god!" I mean, I don't like it now either. It's too crowded. It's but I definitely didn't.
Well, I think communities have a certain character at different points in time.
Yeah.
And right now we're in a point in time where things are very corporate and homogenized.
Yeah, that's true.
And I would rather see things that aren't homogenized.
Well, I hate to tell you this, those days are over.
Yeah, I know.
I think so. All right, well, enough about hardcore. Let's slip into this Doom generation.
Slip in, huh?
Slip in. Yeah, I'm quite all right, so I'll just explain. Spider Al,
yes.
Is that what I'm calling you? Spider Al?
Spider Al. Thank you.
Originally wanted to bring the movie Happiness.
Yes.
And that movie ends with someone masturbating on...
That would be Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Okay, he's masturbating on a balcony or something, and his sperm ends up on a rail, and this dog comes over and licks his sperm, right? If I remember correctly.
Something like that. It's been maybe 20 years since I've seen it. There's also where he sticks a photo on the wall.
Okay.
As well.
Well, this one has a scene, and I guess.
Well, let's not.
Well, I mean, that's okay. Why don't you explain the movie, and then we'll talk about some scenes.
Okay, I would describe this movie as a surrealist.
Yeah.
Or it's a road trip movie on acid, let's say.
Okay.
This is a very, very, very 90s film.
Yeah, that's true. Rose McGowan,
James Duvall, your boy from That Thing You Do.
I can't even watch that movie.
There are so many people in here. There's Perry Farrell's in here. Margaret Cho's in here. Parker Posey's in here.
Yeah, they got a lot of people.
They got a lot of 90s people in here.
Yeah.
And it possibly has one of the greatest 90s movie soundtracks from that era. It's if you want to know anything about 90s alternative music, this is a good place to start.
Yeah, it did have a lot of... No, I didn't recognize any of it, but the list at the end, you could tell there was a lot of... definitely a lot of music.
So I would say... Just go...
Who was Margaret Cho in the film?
She was the wife of the Vietnamese...
Yeah, okay, I didn't even recognize her.
Store clerk.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And James Duvall, okay, let's just stop for a second and talk
James
about
Duvall is Frank the Rabbit and Donnie Darko.
Okay, but was he supposed to be a watered-down
Keanu
Reeves?
I definitely got a strong... I don't know if they're called Valley Boys or Surfer Boys or...
Well, he definitely
I don't know what the slang word would be for that, but he's very dumb.
Dim.
He's dim.
But I got...
He's also innocent, and he's a puppy dog almost.
Right. I definitely got some Keanu Reeves vibes from him on that one. Nicky Katt's in here as well. He's in a lot of stuff now, and it's Amanda Beers from
she plays the bartender. Yeah, from Married with Children.
Yeah. It's
Fright
just
Night.
you look at all. Okay, Heidi Fleiss.
Yes, she's also one of a convenience store.
Right.
This is very, very 90s.
It's very on the nose too. So everything they buy, every time they go in a convenience store and buy something, what's the price that they have to pay?
$666.
And they all go 666. They all make a big thing out of it. So, and okay, the director's name, and this was his first heterosexual film, according to the credits at the front. Greg Araki.
Yeah.
Araki. Have you watched any of the Greg Araki stuff?
No, this is the only one that I've seen so far.
Okay. And what made you watch this one? Or want to watch this one?
I saw this movie when I was 16, 17. Somebody recommended it to me. Well, I'm always looking for strange, weird films to watch. Transgressive, if we go back to the old days.
The old days, yeah.
And Nine Inch Nails is on the soundtrack of this, and I'm a huge Nine Inch Nails fan. And I watched the movie back then. And I think it enlightened me to a bunch of different things that maybe I didn't know about at that time in my life.
How old were you again? 16?
Yeah.
Okay, wow. Why don't you give the plot? Can you give the plot?
It's a road trip movie to hell, basically.
Right.
That's
we can spoil this.
Okay. So James Duvall and Rose McGowan, their boyfriend, girlfriend.
Supposedly, yep.
They
virgins.
They are at a club. They leave. They get in their car and they go to a drive-in to have sex. And while they're at the drive-in, there's a fight where Xavier,
Jimmy from That Thing You Do.
Yeah. He
Jonathan Sketch.
He jumps in their car and they ride off into the sunset. So the rest of the movie is them on a tour.
Well, it kind of starts with he jumps in the car. He's hurt.
Yeah.
He stabbed himself in the leg by accident.
I think he stabbed some guy in the eye.
He did, right? But there's no. That's fine. So he's now in the car with the two people. They end up at a convenience store, and that's when they murder the convenience store owner.
Well, let's be clear who murders the convenience store clerk. It's X.
X.
So I think over the course of the movie, you find out that he's basically a serial killer.
Right.
And
he admits to killing other people.
Yeah. But there's also this layer of homoeroticism and just sexuality going
homophobia.
on. Yeah.
I mean,
well, that's at the end,
right? With the Nazis.
Yeah.
I don't understand. So yeah. I mean, it's this typical three-way kind of love triangle that ends up because they all end up.
I think
hooking up. I don't quite sure.
I think how it's different. I think how it's different, maybe from something else in the '90s, is with the three-wayness. You don't have the. You have the two guys having homoerotic feelings for
each other.
Whereas maybe it's something in like Reality Bites with Ethan Hawke, Winona Ryder, and Ben Stiller, it's more focused on the girl. Whereas it seems to be equal. It's just more of an equal love triangle as opposed to like.
Well, and they're all very honest about it. I mean, sort of. She isn't honest at first when she first sleeps with X. Doesn't want the other. I forget his name. The other.
I think it's Jordan.
Doesn't want Jordan. Jordan White, Amy Blue, Xavier Red, white, and blue. Now it's a whole patriotic thing that goes on. That scene at the end where they play the Star Spangled Banner while they're. I didn't get the point of the film.
I'm not sure there is.
The point? There is no point.
I think there is no point. I think this is.
I also didn't like the cinematography. It's all very tightly shot. Very.
Well, yeah, there are a lot of close-ups on like
very
lips
claustrophobic.
and
there's a little boobage with Rose, but nothing. There's nothing really too.
There's a scrotal shot too.
But underneath, it's not really. Well, there's one. Yeah, we'll talk about the scene at the end.
Well,
which I wasn't sure. I watched the Criterion. I know there's a R-rated version of this and X-rated.
I think what we saw on Criterion is the unrated version, because I think what I saw initially way back when was the R-rated version. I don't know how much I don't know exactly what was cut out.
Do you remember in the one you saw at 16 years old, however many years ago that was, that thing at the end with the strobing during that?
That definitely is in there.
That's how it was shot.
Yes, that is definitely.
Because I thought that was to make it an R. They did that, but So yeah, okay. So it's a very claustrophobic, very nihilistic. Like the whole movie, she's like, "What's the point of living? There's no point."
I
Life
think
sucks."
it's a road trip film for like a lost generation. Like you can talk about Gen X and them being latchkey kids and like not having.
What generation is this? This is 94.
Yeah,
so they
I
would
would
be
say
what?
that they're Gen X.
Okay. So they would be in their what? 50s now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Is that you?
No.
What are you?
I as we've discussed before, I'm the Oregon Trail.
I know, but what's the age on that? That has to do with that game.
I would be elder millennial.
Okay. Okay.
I'm an in-betweener because I
do you age slower when you're Spider-Man?
Yes.
Spider Al, you do?
Yeah.
Okay. So I
don't think there's necessarily an overarching purpose to this film. I think it is just a trippy film that's focused on three people that maybe you haven't seen a couple portrayed this way in normal mainstream films.
Well, I do like that the FBI agent, somebody says her combined SAT score was 600.
Yeah.
That's her.
Yeah.
Jordan was dimmer than she is.
Yeah.
So where was he? And why are they lost? And what's going on? I mean, what they? Parents are dead. One of them says that my parents. I think X was talking about my parents killed themselves. Was it? Am I on the right movie?
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't remember that.
You saw it when you were 16. You don't remember? Oh,
well, I saw it like last night. I
Did
still
you?
don't
You
remember.
did?
It's my old.
But there's some pretty gross, like.
Yeah. Again, we're getting into the transgressive area.
Yeah.
So there is.
What's your favorite scene?
That's a good question. Probably when I was 16, Rose in the bathtub by herself.
Yeah, that was nice. But she's not. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So okay. So let's. I'm going to talk about that scene since I was eating breakfast while I watched that.
Wait. Oh yeah.
Okay. So it starts with the three of them are in a hotel room now after the murder happens.
Yeah.
Now
and there's definitely
some tension going on. There's this definitely yes.
There's sexual tension going on.
X is causing sexual tension between all of them.
Yes.
Right. So, and we find out at the beginning that Jordan's afraid of getting AIDS, which is an interesting thing in a '94 movie. I thought that was, I haven't heard that in a long time now, so that was interesting. But she says, well, we're virgins. How can we get AIDS? So we know right then they haven't had sex yet, or they've tried and they can't.
Well, not to derail you, but have you ever seen the movie Kids?
No, but I know about it.
Because this feels kind of in the same area.
Yeah, these kind of
these independent movies, focused on like what teenagers were doing at the time,
and they were all very nihilistic.
Yes.
In this film in particular, I don't know, kids. I think so. The same. They were,
I would
know what's the purpose of all this. Why are we here?
I don't know if it's that,
Life
but
sucks.
it's very dark, especially at the end.
But she goes to I'm taking a bath.
Yeah.
And then now the other two guys are out flirting. X is flirting with Jordan pretty hard right now. Jordan decides he has to go take a pee. Goes in the bathroom, and for some reason she's in the bathtub. He starts peeing. Then he jumps in the tub, and I think it's the first time they're actually going to have sex.
Yes.
Legit sex. At the same time, X hangs outside that thing.
He's being a voyeur.
Masturbates.
Correct.
And we have to watch him lick his own sperm off his hand that he just completed with. And I have to say, I almost stopped eating. I didn't, but I was like, I'm going to kill him. Spider Al has just nuked me again. And that's Jimmy from That Thing You Do, which now I'm not sure I can. It's a beloved film of mine. I'm not sure I can ever watch it again.
For you.
You might have. You might have ruined that film. I'm like, what the okay, what's he saying here? I mean, I guess if you want to be transgressive and you want to say, this is what's really going on. And
I mean, I don't know that you're saying that this is what I think
people are sick. Okay.
I think it's just transgressive sexual behavior that again is not, can you think of any other movies that something like that has been in? I mean,
not ones that I've seen. I'm sure they're out there. And I'm sure they're out there.
I'm not talking about like pornography. I'm talking about like
mainstream stuff. No,
even indie stuff. Like
I'm trying. Well, like Happiness was the one that I.
Yeah, but that was after this.
Right, but I'm saying, you mean before this?
Like this came out before Happiness.
Yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea if there are other films like this. If there were, I'm glad I didn't see them. And I'm not, I'm not a prude. I don't care. It's just gross. And it's like, what's the point?
I just like torturing you.
Yeah, you did. You did a great job.
Between this and 1313, where do you think you would?
1313. If anybody wants to go check that one out, check it out on our what was the name of our
Movie Strange?
Movie Strange. But that was such a joke. Like it was funny. This one, they're real actors doing this stuff. Like 1313 was.
Yeah.
But this is like legit actors. Like that guy's a legit actor. Jimmy from That Thing You Do. I should use his real name, but Jonathan Scatch or something. I don't know. So now I'm dealing with that, and then by the time it ends, and the other thing, explain to me this: everybody that they met, said they had a relationship with Amy, Amy Blue.
Yeah. I have no idea what that was.
So that was just happening. So everybody would say they're having a relationship, and then when she says, "I don't know who you are," now they want to hunt her down and kill her.
Well, I don't know. I guess I don't know what he's trying to say. Yeah, because they want to be violent about it. Like they're trying to possess her.
Right.
So maybe because she has this ability to possess these two other men.
Yeah.
Like
she has her own agency for sure. Amy is not a pushover at all. As a matter of fact, she saves the day, almost everybody at the end. But there's all these scenes where people claim to have had relationships with her, and she says, "I don't know who you are," and then they go after her, like Parker Posey and Nicky Cat.
Is Nicky Cat the guy in the drive-thru?
Yeah, with the teeth and the shotgun, and gets his arm blown off. Yeah. I mean, and then the whole time we're watching Peter Knight from Brady Bunch and Lauren Toos from Love Boat doing this weird commentary about. It's almost a. This came out the same year as Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers.
See the similarity, minus the homoeroticism. It's a road trip movie. It's about a couple. There's commentary on media,
right? Definitely.
And there's this overarching 666 stuff going on.
The Beast.
Yeah. So I like Natural Born Killers more than this, but I think this is a unique film from a unique time period.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't watch the other. This is a trilogy.
I own them. I will watch them in due course.
Yeah. Now, does Jordan come back? He can't come back. He was killed in this one, right?
Yeah. I believe that he probably. I think
he's in it.
I think James Duvall is probably just Greg Araki's muse. Like he just uses him over and over again.
He was in Independence Day.
Yeah. And Donnie Darko.
Yeah. So that's all I know about him. Yeah, I don't know. This is a crazy film. And and Maria would come down while I was watching it, and I would have to. I didn't want it. It's just like I couldn't explain it. Like if she come down, what are you watching? Well, it's hard to explain, but here's what's happening. I didn't want to get into that.
Yeah.
I just wanted it to be over. I just didn't. I didn't want to pause it because I just wanted to get through it because I had to talk to you about it.
Well, I would say
and then
I think I kind of think the main arc of the movie is them. It's obviously about those three, but it also seems to be the arc is getting to a point where they all have sex with one another, where they have a three-way. I think that is the main arc.
Well, they did, right?
Which they do at the very end. They eventually do at the end.
And then the two guys are about ready to get it on.
Yeah.
And another set of people who had met them in a record store. They were stealing cassettes. And did you see all the anti-drug messages all over the place? Yeah. X is wearing a Dare T-shirt.
Yeah.
And then they had those bubbles, those thought bubbles that were hanging in the record store, which were anti-drug messages as well.
I mean, you were hit over the head with that shit back then. Dare and don't crack is whack.
Right.
And,
So this movie just fills that up.
Yeah.
So they have that three-way.
Yeah.
And
she has to pee in.
She has to, right in the middle of it. That's interesting. I forgot that. She has to go pee.
Yeah.
And that's when they're gonna have their first.
Well, I don't know. They get interrupted. I don't know that they're gonna start without her.
Well, it looked like they were gonna start without her, but
I mean, possibly.
Yeah, maybe I was hoping.
Maybe.
And then that's when the Nazis come in.
Yeah.
Nazis who had seen them in the record store claimed to have had a relationship with Amy and got pissed when she denied it.
Well, they definitely seem, not correlating to today's world, but they definitely seem like bros.
They would definitely be Rogan bros.
Yeah.
Those guys. If we're going to talk about it, let's talk about it. They would definitely be Rogan Bros.
So they get pissed off. They call
your body, my choice.
Yeah, they call. I think they call Jordan a at one point.
Yeah.
They are definitely very homophobic and very possessive of women.
Yeah.
But when we get to the end, they show up with socks on their dicks.
Right.
And they have swastikas painted on their chest, and they're playing Star Spangled Banner, right? Is that
they
what
started playing that? Yeah, when they started torturing.
Yeah. So you could tell that these people did not like sexuality that is not within the confines of their life or culture.
Well, they were raping her.
Yeah.
And torturing Jordan.
Yeah.
They knocked out X.
Yeah. They castrate Jordan.
They castrate him.
And put his genitalia in his mouth and basically kill him.
Yeah.
That's like the big downer moment of the the movement.
Yeah, no.
Movie.
I'm glad you could admit that. That's the downer moment.
That's the downer.
Not all the other stuff. Not the Asian prop guy who owned the convenience store getting his head blown off. I
think it's because it's
Nicky Cat deserved
everybody around them seems crazy, but they don't seem crazy.
Right, but they're
even though I think it's probably in real life it would be the inverse.
Well, they were crazy, but they were less crazy than everybody else. He calls home to his mother. Jordan, in the middle of it, calls to his parents. Can't get through. Right, the answering machine didn't record him. But it ends with her untying herself and killing everybody with the garden shears, and saving X. Couldn't save Jordan, and then the shot is them just driving away, eating Doritos.
Yeah,
like on to the next whatever the next thing's going to be. Yeah, it's nihilistic, and it's like it's one of those. Okay, that makes no sense, but I guess life makes no sense, sort of.
Because it doesn't.
Okay.
It's all about
It's not predetermined?
No, it's not.
Okay. It's random?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it is.
All right. Would you recommend this film?
I would only recommend this film to a certain type of person.
I'm glad I was one of them.
Yeah, I'm glad you... I'm glad you said it.
I don't know. Weirdly, I kind of want to see the next one he did after this. I think it's called Nowhere or something.
Yeah.
Or, because this was his first 35. The way the description was, his first 35 millimeter film with a real film crew. I mean, I can't imagine what his first one. I forget what it's called.
I think it's Totally Fucked Up or something.
Something like that. Yeah. I can't imagine what that must have looked like. I mean, let's see what we got here. Nowhere. Now Apocalypse. Here's Now. Yeah, he's got a lot of...
Well, I would say that this is, if you're interested...
Oh, he directed some of the American Gigolo on the series that came out. That's pretty interesting.
I think this is a time capsule, and if you're interested in seeing what 90s culture, a certain section of 90s culture looked like, I think it would be a good watch.
Well, I think
we get rose-colored glasses when we think about the 90s. Like I know I do. Like there was certainly optimism during that time, but there was a whole lot of other cultural shit going on that was not.
And did you say Kids came out the same year as this?
Roughly the same.
Yeah,
time.
And that's sort of almost a documentary, right? I mean, so yeah, I guess this was a forgotten generation or something, or a neglected generation. Maybe the parents were out working; these kids were left at home. I don't know what the reason for the nihilism, but I think there were probably a lot of films around that time that kind of dealt with that.
Yeah,
not as crassly, or what crass isn't the right word, probably artistically, as this one did. People gave him money. People let him shoot on 35 millimeter film, so they saw something there. I mean, But I never heard about this film until you brought it up. Well, Criterion has a whole collection of them. He's got all three.
Yeah, I know. I bought it.
Yeah, but it's on their channel too. Yeah. It's on streaming.
I saw this in 4K.
Oh wow! Is it still like in 4K? Is it still?
No, it's full frame 16:9.
Yeah. Very claustrophobic for me.
I would say that...
And it mostly takes place in a car in hotel rooms anyway, so...
I would say in terms of, like, comparing this to hardcore, like, with... I would say that maybe his daughter in that movie was neglected, too. And so she went... In a way, she went on her own journey away from what society was expecting, where I think these kids did the same thing.
Right. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why I feel, and she may have been in hardcore one of these, could have been with this crew.
Yeah.
The daughter, right? The daughter probably get easily lured away from Knott's Berry, farm because she didn't want to go back to the constraints of what the other life was like, which she ends up going back to. So it would be interesting to see what happened to her after. Like I said,
if we want to imagine the real ending, maybe she would go live with her mother in New York or wherever she went.
So could he ever take his eye off her again? I don't know if I could. At that point, I don't know. It probably becomes more like she's in prison because he'll never let her do anything. I mean, that would be a reaction. That would be one reaction. What would you rate Doom Generation then? If you gave Hardcore a 3.
I think they're shot so differently and written so different. We didn't talk about Rose's dialogue.
It's awful. I mean, okay, the script is terrible.
Okay, so there's a lot of...
What's she, scrotum breath? I mean, there's a lot of insults that are just like literally teenage insults.
Yeah, which I think is great because it kind of, I would say it's a dumbed down version of Heathers in a way because there's like a lot of great dialogue in Heathers, like fuck me gently with the chainsaw. Like, I think that's like, that's smart dialogue. But like, she'll... Smart dialogue. Rose McGowan will say stuff like eat my fuck and talk about crusty rectums and...
I forgot about that. I didn't want to... You're right.
I think X says something, he's talking about male genitalia and he says something like a tumescent love missile and,
He has Jesus tattooed on his penis.
Yeah.
Because you want Jesus in you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's this is very crass.
Terrible. Yeah.
It's very crass.
Yeah. I felt the script was stupid. Like, but is that how kids talked? Is that how they talk? Up your nose with a rubber hose? I mean, that
yes.
kind of thing.
Yes.
Okay. So maybe it's brilliant writing.
Have you heard the current slang?
Well, no, I haven't. Is it bad?
Yeah. Like Riz and...
Riz, I understand. That's short for charisma.
Skibbity toilet gat stuff.
Okay. I don't know what are you what's the word? Are you capping me right now? Is that no cap? No cap. That means not lying, right?
I don't know.
I think that's what that means, but I don't know either. Yeah, I forgot about the script. You're right, but it's so and that Jordan is just.
He's very dopey.
He's dopey.
He's dopey and lovable in a way.
Well, that's what I mean. That's why I was getting the vibes I was getting. Keanu. I can never say his name. Keanu Reeves vibes for sure. So anyway, all right. So you haven't rated it.
I mean, do I have to rate it against like normal movies, or can I rate it against like cults?
Yeah, it's okay. So, okay, I don't know how you would. It's because this isn't one you could recommend. Why it's
I think if normal people normal.
Is there a genre of this film? Is this are there more of these nihilistic 90s? Tank Girl's that's science fiction, right?
Yeah, and that was a major release.
Yeah, Kids, I think is probably a good comparison for you.
I think probably
Happiness.
Yeah,
that's a suburban version of nihilism. There, Happiness.
I think probably Todd Solange's stuff. Who did Happiness? There's like Welcome to Dollhouse.
Okay,
and other films like that.
Yeah, interesting.
Wait,
American Beauty too, if you think about it.
Yeah,
because those kids were disaffected in that one as well.
I would say,
and like I just remember in the American Beauty, it's just the way they looked at murder and stuff, fascinated by it, not repulsed by it. And I kind of feel like that's how this was too. They were not repulsed by the violence. I'm not saying that because she was worried about it. She definitely knew they were on the run because they committed some atrocities, but they didn't. Except the head, when the head started talking and the stuff came out. That was pretty gross. And Jordan, reacted to that like a normal person would. Anyway, okay, so rated on, I don't know, it's nihilistic movies. What? I mean...
I'm going to give it a 4 just because it's weird and transgressive and not something you would normally see.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 2. I might watch the sequel on Criterion just to see... Because she might have a cameo. I know Jordan's in there as a different person, but the actor. But I might give it a shot as much as I was disgusted by what was going on.
Yeah.
Anyway, and like I said, Jimmy, it's like I don't know what I'm going to do. That movie's always happy for me, a happy place.
He was just in a movie with Barbara Crampton and Heather Graham. It's a horror film.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he played the husband.
He's a Maryland guy.
Oh, Didn't
Big
know.
Orioles fan, big Ravens fan. He was born in Edgewood, Maryland.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Some
Probably
weird people.
probably
Some
the
weird
only
people.
Orioles fan to have eaten his own semen on film.
You know what? You might be right about that one. We might have to ask our audience if they know anybody or not. Yeah, I didn't think about that, but thank you for putting that in my head too as I
welcome.
watch the next Orioles game. All right.
Anything I could do to
All right, Spider Al. How do you feel about the lounge?
The lounge is excellent. I'm very impressed.
Yeah. I do like that you came. It's a little disconcerting that I can't get any verbal, nonverbal cues from you, but I guess I'll, if as we do more of these.
Well, maybe you could pixelate my face next time.
No, I'd rather do this.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's much easier. Are you comfortable?
Sure.
All right. Is there another film you'd like to bring to the lounge?
Oh, there are many films that I'd like to bring.
Let's we'll bring you back once in a while, every once in a while. See how the audience responds to this one. There are 12, 15 people.
Yeah.
See, any comments would be good. So anyway, well, lesson. Welcome. Normally we toast at the end. You haven't even why don't you crack that open?
Here.
Crack that open. I don't know how you're gonna I can't wait to see you do this. Yeah, let's cheers first. All right.
Cheers.
Yeah,
All right.
thanks for joining the lounge.
Thank you.
All right.
Anytime.